staying on Biden and China, I think in many ways, a lot of people want to understand how is Biden going to approach China, and not just China, but also the Indo-Pacific region in general, be it Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. There's so much. At least in some quarters, there is some anxiety in Taiwan about which way Biden is going to swing, and of course, the other countries in the region, ASEAN, and where India fits into all of this. So how do you look at Biden's approach to China and the Indo-Pacific region in general?
Let me give you the easy answer first, which is where India fits into this: nowhere. We're kind of irrelevant in the global scheme of things, despite our self-delusions to the contrary. So we won't fit anywhere anyhow, right? We're kind of irrelevant even, 30, 40 years after our economic liberalization happened. We're nowhere near being the global power that we should be. Because, if reproduction rates are what makes you a global power, then Bangladesh and Indonesia should have been way ahead of Israel. But Israel with just 7 million is always taken a lot more seriously than Bangladesh or Indonesia with 160 to 250 million in population. So India is irrelevant. Let's get to Biden. Biden's policy is going to be exactly what George Bush Jr., Bill Clinton, George Bush Jr., and Obama's policies on China were. They are constantly going to try to engage with China. They're going to keep ceding more and more and more and more to China. And the EU free trade deal with China is sort of a very important marker in this. They will keep doing this to China. They will keep ceding more and more space to China. They will keep focusing on the wrong enemy, which is Russia, rather than the right enemy, which is China. But what they'll do is they'll create all kinds of humbug jargon, like, the Asian pivot. Do you remember that nonsense that Obama came up with? If you actually look at the Asian pivot, instead of actually moving troops closer to China, it actually involved a move back of about 500 kilometers of all American troops stationed in the southern island chain. So everybody will, because we know exactly how the US press is at the moment, everybody is going to clap and say, oh, he's very tough on China. He's doing wonderful things on China, la-di-da-di-da. They're not. And Biden is particularly compromised in this because he is personally compromised in this. His son is definitely compromised in it. And I think we can say this with a great deal of certainty because the documentation is far, far more conclusive than anything that was used against Trump on Russia.
Right. And we've seen some of these things prevented from coming out in the public. There was some kind of censorship before the election recently. With respect to Hunter Biden's association with, elements in China. So could that also be something that will continue? We've seen some elements of censorship even, in the last few days. How are they going to sort of spin the narrative, if I can call it that?
Look, they don't need to spin the narrative. They control the entire press, even Fox News. Remember, because employees of Fox News don't look at Fox News as their only employment opportunity. When they quit Fox News, they want to move on to other channels to be able to bargain, to negotiate, and la-di-da. So they're never going to, carry a right-wing line completely. They're always going to seek validation from the left, so that when their paychecks and things they need to negotiate, when they want to switch channels, that bridge is still open for them, right? So they will absolutely control the narrative on this. I don't think you will see Biden being criticized at all. You will have the sham of criticism. Assume tomorrow, I'm being very hyperbolistic here, but still, if Biden were to gift the US East Coast off to China, let's say the West Coast, just for geographical ease, he were to gift the US East Coast, or let's say Hawaii, he were to gift Pearl Harbor and Hawaii off to China, the US press would say something like, it was too heavy a price, but ultimately it was worth it.
Right.
That is their idea of criticizing. This is what they did with Obama as well. If you remember, they all dampened down their criticism of Obama.
Right.
Why? Because Democrats and the left run the entire validation cycle. They run the entire job circuit, because jobs, remember, 70% of your economy is services. Unlike manufacturing that requires a heavy deal of skilling, services you can come from any part of any discipline, engineering, humanities, whatever. So you're seeing an anthropological change where only 7% were meant to be in white collar jobs, anthropologically speaking, but today 70% of the jobs available are technically white collar jobs, theoretically speaking. So you have this thing of essentially white trash who were meant to be laborers suddenly thinking they've become white collar. And they control this entire narrative chain. They've created an atmosphere of fear. Dar ka mahal, to use that word, truly applies in this sense, where you have to comply with the dogma to stay employed in these companies. Right. So they control that. I think you're going to see the complete wipeout of the Republicans in about 10, 12 years. Trump was the only one that had it right. Because he was trying to stem the macro reversals that the Republicans are going to face, that I think the global right is going to face. But let's see.
Right.
I'm not optimistic.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Chitti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.